My name is Aubrey, and today I am hoping to answer the question of whether or not Illumicrate, the subscription box, is worth the money. I decided to join the waiting list for Illumicrate last year in 2020. Probably around October or November. I was finally able to start getting the subscription box. I think in December was the first box I ever got. So I have been subscribed to Illumicrate for, I guess, 8 months now. And I thought about this video at the beginning of the year because when I was looking into the book box myself and trying to decide whether or not I wanted to invest my money in it, take the plunge, whatever, I couldn't find very many resources on YouTube or anywhere else on anyone's experience with the book box. There are a couple of videos on YouTube, but most of them are only looking at and analyzing one of the boxes, which, I don't know, to me isn't necessarily like a great representation of how a book box subscription sort of is as a whole. So I thought that I would save a bunch of my boxes and do this kind of larger scale look at an analysis of the book box subscription. And just to clarify, this video is not sponsored. As of today, I have fewer than 500 subscribers. This video is not sponsored. I was not sent any of these boxes. I paid for all of these boxes with my own money. All opinions are my own. So, you know, just to get that out of the way. I have 7 book boxes to go through today. I have January through July. I don't have all of the items from the December box because I had this idea after receiving that box, so I'm not going to be showing the December box from last year in this video. But basically how I'm going to structure this video, I want to go through each of the items in all of the boxes and just kind of show them off, and then I'm going to get into the books in the second half of the video. I'm going to be looking through the sort of, you know, the packaging of the books, the aesthetic of the books, and then I will be going into the quality of the books, and for that I'm going to be using Goodreads stats because I have not had a chance to read all of these books yet, and also I feel like the opinion of one person is not super useful information necessarily. And then at the very end of the video, I'll be kind of talking about my overall feelings of Illumicrate. During the video, when I'm talking about the items and talking about the books, I'm gonna try not to interject my own opinions too much, simply because, again, this video is not sponsored and I'm not here to like sell you on the book box. I'm not trying to persuade you one way or the other. I just wanted a useful resource on YouTube for people who are interested in the subscription to be able to decide for themselves whether or not this is a book box that you want, that you're interested in. So let's start off with the first question, which is, what is Illumicrate? Illumicrate is a UK-based subscription box. They offer 2 subscription options. One is a book-only option, which is nice, and the second is the full box option, which is what I opted for and what I will be showing you today. With both options, you will receive a newly released hardcover book with a range of customizations exclusive only to Illumicrate, as well as a pin relating to the book that you receive. If you opt for the full box subscription, you will also receive a carefully curated selection of items, and you will receive at least 4 to 6 items in each box. The items included are exclusive to Illumicrate, which means that you can't buy them anywhere else. And that's all that they have specifically on their website about the subscription box. From my experience and from past boxes, they tend to specialize in fantasy books and sci-fi books. There may be an odd one out here or there, but that seems to be the majority of the content. They also specialize in both adult and young adult, which is one of the reasons that drew me to Illumicrate specifically over some of the other book boxes that are exclusively YA. Most of the books that I have received thus far have been adult books. So for me, that's been great. For you, you know, you can decide for yourself whether that's something that you want. The second question you would probably ask is, how much does Illumicrate cost? It costs £27, and the shipping to the United States at least is £17, which totals £43.99, which translates to $64.07 that gets taken out of my PayPal every month. So the subscription box for me in the US costs $64.07. It may be different depending on where you live, I'm not sure, but that's how much I get charged every month for the subscription box. So again, you can decide for yourself whether or not these items and these books and everything that we talk about today will be worth that price to you. All right, so let's just get into it. The first book box was Rebellious Royals. This was the January book box. The first item was a Folk of the Air puzzle story. And it is, yeah, just like a jigsaw puzzle. The spine kind of looks like a little book, which I really like. The next item is the Hyena Story Shadow Box, inspired by A Song of Wraiths and Ruin. I'm not super sure how you're supposed to get a candle in here, but there it is. Next is You Should See Me in These Socks, which is inspired by You Should See Me in a Crown. Super soft. Then we have the Night Court bookmark set, inspired by the ACOTAR series, featuring a bunch of characters from the ACOTAR series by Sarah J. Maas. Then we got some Masonite mint tea, inspired by Messina from Mirage, and the monthly collector's pin based on the book, and that looks like this. The book for this month was Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. Okay, moving on to February. The theme for this month was The City is Ours. The first item is a Lunatheon umbrella, inspired by Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. I have it here. I'm not going to open it up on camera because I don't think you'd be able to see all of it, but I will try to insert a picture of what it looks like all opened up. Next was a Gilded Wolves decorative plate. Next is a Money Talks card holder, inspired by The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. Next, we got the Home of the Last Falconer print. We got a Be Yourself wooden coaster, inspired by The Cemetery Boys. And lastly, there's the collector's pin, inspired by the book. And the book for February was A Dark and Hollow Star by Ashley Shuttleworth. Okay, so the March box, the theme was Fighting Spirit. First item is the There and Back mug, inspired by the Dark Artifices trilogy by Cassandra Clare. I know for myself, these mugs specifically were one of the reasons why I chose the full box option instead of just the book option. The next item is Wrath's Dagger Mark, inspired by Kingdom of the Wicked, and I think this is a wooden bookmark. Then we got the Winter Night tote bag, inspired by the Winter Night trilogy. Then we got the Take What You Will pin hoop, inspired by the Court of Miracles. Next we got the Heart Glass necklace, inspired by the Bone Witch series. And lastly, we got the monthly collector's pin, inspired by the book. And the book for March was The Unbroken by C.L. Clark. Okay, now on to April's box, and the theme for April was Dearly Departed. First item is the Book of the Dead book pot, inspired by ancient Egyptian mythology. Next is the Too Many Books organizer, inspired by Nevernight. Next is the Jacques Mason jar glass, which is inspired by The Beautiful. Then there's the Gloom Mistress and Griddle magnets, inspired by Gideon the Ninth. Then there's the Sickle Keyring, inspired by Dread Nation. And lastly, the monthly enamel pin, inspired by the book. And the book for this month was In the Ravenous Dark by A.M. Strickland. Next on to May. This theme was Change Your Stars. The first item is the Stark Castle book sleeve, inspired by Spinning Silver. The next item is the Girls of Paper and Fire dress enamel pin. Next is the Wilder Than Memories sketchbook, inspired by The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Then we got the Elemental Creatures T10 inspired by the Davabad trilogy. Then we got the Mbot Illumikey inspired by Skyward. I think this is supposed to be a new Illumicrate collection. And lastly, the monthly collector's pin inspired by the book. And the book for this month was The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. Okay, now on to June. And the theme for June was Out of the Woods. The first item is The Darkest Part of the Forest banner, inspired by The Darkest Part of the Forest. Next is the Lord of the Rings puzzle story. Next is the Woods Are Lovely water bottle, inspired by poetry by Robert Frost. It reads, "The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep." Next is the Woods Make Monsters Woodmark, which is inspired by Among the Beasts and Briars. It reads, "The Woods Make Monsters of Us All" by Ashley Poston. Then we got the Huntress Wooden Pin, inspired by We Hunt the Flame. And mine actually broke, which I'm really sad about. But it's just this bow and arrow, wooden bow and arrow. I'm gonna see if I can glue it back on, but yeah. And then lastly, we have the monthly enamel pin inspired by the book. And the book for June was The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reed. Okay, we're now on to the last box I have to show you guys today. It is the July box, and the theme was Never Enough. The first item was the Between Us mug, inspired by the Poppy War. Then we have the Lila Bard bust, inspired by A Darker Shade of Magic. Next is the Red Rising acrylic frame and print. Then we have the To Define is to Limit pocket mirror, inspired by Dorian Gray. Then we have the Perfect for Treason fan, inspired by Descent of the Crane. It says, "No night was perfection, but this one came close." And lastly, we have the pin, inspired by the book. July's book was She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. Okay, so those were all of the items in all of the boxes, at least all of the items that were listed on the little booklets. Some of the books came with prints and letters that were tucked into the books themselves, so if I come across those as I'm exploring this book section, I will be showing those off. Now we're going to get into the actual book section. Like I said at the beginning, I'll be talking about the book presentation, the book aesthetic. I'll give you a sort of short synopsis or sort of some snappy taglines for each of the books. I'm not going to read an entire synopsis for all of these because this video is already really, really long, so I'm not going to waste anybody's time doing that. I'll try to give you, the gist for each of these. We'll look at some Goodreads reviews and stats and things like that. So the first book we got in January was Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. As far as I know, this is not an alternative cover. This is the UK cover, but it does come with these exclusive sort of mint green sprayed edges that match the text on the front of the book. Each of the books so far has had a quote on the naked hardcover, and each book I'm pretty sure has been signed, or it has come with a signed book plate. So this one's got the signature right there. So yeah, that is all for the sort of exclusiveness of this book in particular, the sprayed edges, the quote, and the fact that it's signed. Winter's Orbit is an adult sci-fi romance. We are following two characters who are kind of wrangled into a political marriage. It is a male-male romance. The inside says, duty, politics, space princes, and rebellious royals. Everina Maxwell's debut is a space opera with high stakes, multi-world politics, and irresistibly engaging characters, perfect for fans of Gideon the Ninth and The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. It has an average of 4.06 stars on Goodreads, with the most common rating being a 4-star. February's book was A Dark and Hollow Star by Ashley Shuttleworth. It has these dark pink sprayed edges. This one does not have a quote on the cover, but I believe it's the only one that doesn't. And on the inside, it is signed. I think this one is considered YA, maybe new adult. I'm not entirely sure. It's listed as YA on Goodreads. On the inside, it says, the cruel prince meets City of Bones in this thrilling urban fantasy set in the magical underworld of Toronto as a queer cast of characters race to stop a serial killer whose crimes could expose the hidden world of fairies to humans. So yes, this book gets an average of 3.85 stars on Goodreads, with the most common rating being a 4-star. And for March, we have The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. It's got these dark red sprayed edges. It has got the quote on the naked hardcover, and it is signed. This is an adult fantasy. I believe it is the start to a new series. The inside says, an unmissable epic fantasy debut of uprising, espionage, and empire. Touraine is a soldier. Lusa needs a turncoat. Through assassinations and massacres in bedrooms and war rooms, Touraine and Lusa will haggle over the price of a nation, but some things aren't for sale. This has an average of 3.94 stars on Goodreads, with the most common rating being a 4-star. April's book was In the Ravenous Dark by A.M. Strickland, and this, in my opinion, is when Illumicrate started to really step up their game. So we have got these stenciled edges. Top and bottom are plain, but these are stenciled. This one also does not have a quote on the naked hardcover, but it does have these illustrated end papers, which are the same on both sides. It came with a signed book plate, which I believe are because of COVID. I think they were having some issues with getting authors to sign the books in person. This one came with some art and a little author's note. As far as I know, the other books didn't come with anything like this, but I could have misplaced them. I did take the books all out of the boxes, and those have been sitting on my bookshelves. And unfortunately, even this one wasn't listed on the sheet or anything, so if they were in there, I don't know what happened to them. On the inside it says, power never dies and neither does desire. And on the back it says, she loves a princess, she's bound to a warrior, and she must betray them both. And this is YA fantasy. In the Ravenous Dark gets an average of 3.93 stars on Goodreads, with the most common rating being 4 stars. May's book was The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Sori. It came with these sort of viney stenciled edges. We have the quote on the naked hardcover, and it came with a signed book plate, as well as some art and a little note from the author. This is an adult fantasy. Again, I believe it is the start to a new series. One is a vengeful princess seeking to depose her brother from his throne. The other is a priestess searching for her family. Together they will change the fate of an empire. I believe this has a sapphic romance element to it. This has an average of 4.29 stars on Goodreads, with the most common rating being a 5-star. And I forgot to mention before, but just while we're here, I am pretty sure that this is a hardcover exclusive release. I mean, it may have been released in hardcover in some other capacity by another publisher, but I think for the general release, I looked on Amazon and I looked on Book Depository, and both this one and this one, I think it only been released in paperback. So I think these two may have been exclusive hardcover releases for these two titles. I'm not totally sure about that, but that could add to the sort of exclusiveness, specialness of some of these editions. All right. right, and then the book for June was The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reed. And again, just like with the stenciled edges having started in April and seeming to be a trend, this seems to be the start of alternative covers. I will put a picture of what the original release cover looks like versus this one. This is definitely different. I think the original has like more of an aqua green color, and this is like very silver and red. It's got these stenciled edges. The top and bottom are just solid. The inside has a quote on the naked hardcover. And as you can see, the inside of the dust jacket has some alternative art. The inside is signed, and it did come with this art with a little author's note. So this is an adult fantasy fairy tale. The inside says, a dark, evocative, and unforgettable fantasy debut steeped in Hungarian history and Jewish mythology, perfect for fans of Naomi Novik and Catherine Arden. This has an average rating of 3.73 stars on Goodreads, with the most common rating being a 4-star. All right, and last but not least, the book for July was She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. Continuing with the trend from last month, we have an alternative cover. This is the UK cover again, and I will insert a picture of what the original cover looks like. It has got these ombre stenciled sprayed edges, so it's yellow on top, orange on the bottom. It's got this kind of ombre effect with these little clouds. It's got a quote on the naked hardcover. Inside the dust jacket has some alternative art. The end papers have this cloudiness on them, and it came with a signed book plate. This is another adult fantasy. On the inside it says, can she outwit her destiny and rise as high as she can dream? And on the back it says, a glorious retelling of the rise of the Ming Dynasty's first emperor. This has an average of 4.17 stars on Goodreads, with the most common star rating being 5 stars. Okay, so that's it for the book portion of this video. Now I'm just going to, I guess, give you guys some stats and observations. So 6 of the 7 books that I have received this year have been fantasy, with 1 sci-fi. 2 of the 7 books would be considered YA, with 5 being considered adult. So for the items, repeated items, which I know can be a concern for some people, you know, you only need so many mugs and candles and stuff like that. In the 7-month period, of course, you get an enamel pin in every single box, so that is a sort of guaranteed repeat item. There have been 2 mugs. Both of the art for these mugs was designed by Rosie Thorns 88. And again, there have been 2 sets of puzzles. So there was the Folk of the Air series puzzle and the Lord of the Rings puzzle. And then of course there have been like various different bookmarks in each of the boxes. But I think, and I could be mistaken, but I think as far as the other items go, there haven't been any more repeats. Illumicrate seems to be really, really good about using special, different items for each box. They definitely do have certain like lines of items. So again, the mugs, it seems like the puzzles are going to be a collector's line of items. I think that these book pots are kind of a collected line of items. I only received 1, but I have seen some on Instagram, so I think that, you know, some of these have been included in previous boxes. It sounded like these keys are perhaps going to be a new kind of line of items in the subscription box as something that you might get from time to time and collect. But again, overall, I think they do a really nice job of divvying up the items, making sure that you're not getting the same kinds of items with every single box or even every other box, right? I personally have been really, really impressed with the variety of different items and just the level of care that they seem to put into picking out the items and theming each box and things like that. I don't think, and I could be mistaken, but I don't think there has been a single repeat fandom. That was another kind of concern for me when I signed up for the subscription box. I was worried that maybe all of the items were just going to center around, you know, the most popular fandoms and the most popular authors. And while there have been a couple of repeat items from authors, like I think there have been 2 Holly Black items and there have been 2 Sarah J. Maas items. Both items respectively were from different books and different book series. I appreciate that as well. And so, you know, if you're worried about the boxes only having like Sarah J. Maas content or Cassandra Clare content, again, I think they've done a really nice job to give a wide breadth of different books, different authors, and different fandoms. Oh, I guess there were 2 V.E. Schwab items as well, but again, both from different books, different fandoms and series. So overall, I've been personally really impressed with that. So yeah, I guess we're at the part of the video where I'm just going to, you know, express my own feelings and my own experience with Illumicrate. And just, you know, for me personally, I've really loved it. I look forward to my box every single month. I am usually kind of jumping around with excitement, open it and being surprised. I just feel like a lot of these items are of a very nice quality. They feel like they were chosen with a lot of care, and while not like everything is a hit, right, with any kind of subscription, there are going to be hits and misses, but overall the items that I love, I really love. Just really quickly, some of my favorite items are this sort of woodsy inspired glass water bottle. It's so cute. They're little like mushrooms growing on the trees, and it is just, you know, the perfect size to fit in a purse. I think this tote bag is absolutely gorgeous. I love this tea tin. I'm reading the Davabad trilogy right now and absolutely loving it. This Lord of the Rings puzzle. I actually love puzzles. I do them with my grandma whenever I go and visit her, and so I just am really excited to have like puzzles of my own. I don't actually like own any puzzles myself. I love doing them with her, and I'm really excited about this. And I really love this shadow box. I think I might stain it. I think it would look really pretty stained. Again, I'm not sure how you're supposed to get a candle in here, or that I would ever do that, but it is very pretty, and maybe I could put like an air plant in the middle, or like a crystal or something. So yeah, I just think a lot of these are really beautiful and unique items. And as far as the books are concerned, I mean, I am again just really impressed, especially with these last 2. I think they have really stepped up their game in terms of, you know, the book packaging. I'm not always the biggest fan of alternative covers because sometimes, you know, the original cover is better. Both of these I really like. So, and even just the simple sprayed, even just the simple stenciled edges I really like. And as far as, you know, just the books themselves, the ones that they chose, I'm really happy with the titles that I have been receiving. I am reading a lot more adult fantasy and sci-fi these days, and so I think I mentioned before that is one of the things that drew me to Illumicrate specifically, instead of one of the other book boxes that only focuses on YA releases. And all of these titles have been books that I had been pretty excited about. They were definitely, all of them were books that were on my radar. They were books that I was looking into and thinking about buying. Definitely, again, these 2 I was really close to pre-ordering, but I just, you know, I decided to wait and see, and glad I did because here they are. But yeah, thus far, every time I have opened up my Illumicrate box, I have been very pleasantly surprised and very excited about each of these books. They're all books that I'm interested in. They're all books that I am excited to read, the ones that I haven't read already. And yeah, it has just genuinely been a really wonderful experience. I'm going to stay subscribed to Illumicrate. I would love to do some kind of like updated video in the future, maybe after a year or longer, maybe talking about some of these items and how useful they've been, how I've integrated them into my life or something like that, because that is originally what I wanted to do, was to talk about how useful the items had been to me. So I may do some kind of updated video if that interests anyone. Please let me know if it does. I really hope this video was helpful to you. Of course, this is only, you know, a snapshot of how the subscription box has been for the last 7 months, but based on some of what they've released on Instagram about future boxes, it seems like they are definitely going to keep up with the alternative covers for their special editions. So, you know, I'm very happy about that. And yeah, if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more from me. I hope to see you next time. Bye.